I know that. That means don't cops.
Oh my gosh. She's had
That's his sister.
High School report was the young lady, there she is in black.
oh, here I am. This is Frisco. This is Ocean's son. And then give it to me again.
No different. Seems to have a collection.
John's actually recording the secretary.
Here? Yeah. Executive assistant? Yep.
Are you going to bring up the word whiny?
One of the paragraph at the top. It says one of
The lottery is
I started teaching. I was hired as a teacher when I started studying
everything. I take any assignment. There for a session.
Came out at 3:38.
Oh yeah, and I was, I had good class and discipline early.
How about you?
High school.
I broke 90
But
yesterday.
I ended up getting a multiple subject.
About the background.
So that I'd have one.
My friend Osi over there.
Here's something for me.
Yeah, you should get that email.
Brought it as Don't tell him.
Yeah, I hope you can look.
There's my wayward son, Henry's son.
Where?
Henry's easy to recognize, he's about 6'5". He played guitar. He's at the church.
Right.
Haven't even got it.
Right.
I don't.
Oh, he has a
Yeah, too busy. I'm also following donkeys. Never fun.
That was out in the park.
Well, it depends what time of day.
At 6 o'clock, I'm going to be calling the meeting to order. This is 3, public meeting. We are 3.1, reconvene to public session. 3.2, roll call.
Trustee Kearney-Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Uvalde?
Here.
Trustee Lawson?
Here.
Vice President Kearney-Brown?
Here.
President Worrell?
Present. 3.3 is Pledge of Allegiance. Jasmine is going to lead us.
May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Three 3.4, report of actions taken in closed session. 3.4.1, public employee discipline, appointment discipline, dismissal and release. There was nothing on that. 3.4.2, conference with labor negotiators. We gave direction to the district. 3.4.3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigations. This was rolled into also 3.44. And in that, on case number 20184, or 8040166, a motion was made by trustee Lawson, seconded by Vice President Kearney-Brown, and it passed 5-0. The next one was case number 20180405152. That was moved by trustee Lawson, seconded by trustee Uvalde, and it passed unanimously. The next one was 2.0171118. That was moved by Vice President Kearney-Brown, seconded by trustee Lawson, passed unanimously. And the last one was 2.017061192. It was moved by Vice President Kearney-Brown, seconded by trustee Uvalde, and it passed unanimously. The next one we have is a appeal on a student matter. It was SAM 2018-AHP31. Is there a motion to approve the appeal? I will move to approve the appeal. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by President and seconded by trustee Kearney-Brown. This is the appeal, to approve the appeal.
Oh,
That's what I thought.
okay, yeah.
Would you like to?
No,
Okay. All those in favor of approving the appeal, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no.
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 It fails 4-1. Moving on now to
Student discipline.
4 is adoption of the board agenda.
Did we do the expulsion? Did we vote on the expulsion?
Is there a
Well, there's a
motion?
question, sir.
Did we vote on the expulsion, which is?
Yeah.
AHP 33.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we did that one.
okay, I forgot that one. What was that?
Move for adoption.
Yeah, trustee Uvalde has the number.
You have the number, go ahead and make a motion with the number.
I move for that we adopt the student discipline matter S 2018-AHP 33.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to item 4, adoption of board agenda.
Mr. President, if there's no,
There is a card, I have a card.
oh, you do have it,
I
thank
have a
you.
card. Dr. Schussel.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just be very brief and to the point. I don't understand why agendas like this are allowed to be created with so many items on them that are controversial for one night. There ought to be better planning, and at a minimum, I think it's almost inhumane what this district does with people who are coming here with charter school petitions. Whether you're for it or against it, they shouldn't have to be last on the agenda, and often they come with kids and families. And I think that what this board should start to do is have a special session for those, so that most people, if they're not interested, don't have to come to it. They know they're going to have a lot of people here. Look at this room. You can't even accommodate the people, and it's not even primarily the charter people yet. So I just hope that the president and the superintendent in the future be more sensitive to people and think about maybe separating things like charter schools from the other agenda. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move, Mr. President.
Or a second?
I second.
Moved by trustee Uvalde, seconded by trustee Lawson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0, or 5-0. Can't even count right. 5, recognitions. 5.1, recognition of the Blount City Unified School District certificated and classified employees of the year.
Nicole, Ms. Summers is going to work with that, and also our human resources, chief human resource, Dr. Patrick.
Here we go.
Good evening, Governing Board, Superintendent, community members. On behalf of the Vallejo City Unified School District, we'd like to take this moment to recognize our Teacher of the Year. We'd like Ellen Baker Valdez to please come forward. Before I present this award to Mrs. Baker Valdez, I'd like to say congratulations on behalf of the district and to share a little bit about her educational career in the city of Vallejo. She has been a teacher with us for 18 years. She has been a teacher at Highland Elementary and a teacher leader. And I'd also like to say she really is phenomenal. She also taught my son in 5th grade. So this also comes from the Patrick family as well, Ms. Baker. I'd like to have you all give her a round of applause again. And would you like to have words? Would you like to just say something? Not to put you on the spot, but.
This has just been quite a fun experience, just getting to be in touch with all of my previous colleagues as I've been in the district a while, and just a fun way to celebrate our profession, and something to celebrate in the kind of world where everything seems like it's topsy-turvy. It's been nice to celebrate something fun and have something to enjoy. So thank you very much.
I would like to call Samantha Bradshaw up front. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about our classified employee for Vallejo City Unified School District. Samantha Bradshaw has been with us since 1997. 21 years with the district, dedicated to our students in the transportation department. She is our current lead trainer bus driver for the district. And also I've had the pleasure of working with her for the past couple of years as the first vice president and chairperson for the catastrophic leave committee. So it's been an honor. What we are proud of is Ms. Bradshaw was awarded the Solano County Classified Employee of the Year Award. So that is wonderful. Before you is Samantha Bradshaw, our Classified Employee of the Year. Say something? It's okay. Let me hold this. Okay.
I have something just really short. If I didn't write it down, I'd probably just ramble on, and I didn't want to do that. So, it is such an honor to receive this recognition of Classified Employee of the Year for the Solano County School District. It is an honor because I know that I'm among countless classified employees who go above and beyond the description of their job. As seen in our nominees, there are so many bus drivers, paraeducators, custodians, and student nutritionists that have made their position in their school district a life-changing role for many of our youth. Though this recognition highlights my own work and achievement with my district, I'm only able to achieve this with the constant support and passion of my team. The men and women that work with me are a positive reminder to be the best that I can be and to achieve a level that may have thought to be unattainable. I thank my department for nomination and years of support they have provided. I also thank my family and close friends for their support. Thank you so much.
You guys can stand together.
Pictures here. Nor do you want to take one of those?
Sure.
Before
Mr. President, if I may say something. Could you state, Ms. Baker, I promised, my wife asked me to greet you and congratulate you, Carol Ubaldi.
Of course.
Your former colleague, and she told me, she said, you know, there's nothing but positive things about Ms. Ellen Baker.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank
Now,
you.
Thank you. Now I won't get in trouble.
Trustee Yang.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Ms. Bradshaw and Ms. Baker Valdez for all your years of service to our students of our district. That's one of the positive things of Vallejo is our hardworking teachers, our hardworking classified, especially those that have been here for many, many years. That's what makes things work. So thank you. And I send you my best. You really earned it. Thank you.
Moving on to 5.2, recognition of donors for Highland Elementary and Solano Middle School beautification.
I'm going to call on Mr. Mayo on this item.
Is this on? Thank you, Dr. Clark, President Worrell, Vice President Kearney-Brown, trustees, and community. We come across real heroes from time to time. And I think tonight you saw two of them that belong to us, classified hero and a certificated hero. And then there are those people out there that are just community heroes. And so we have representation of those here tonight. What they did was they provided beautification projects to two of our schools. And these schools weren't picked at random. These schools were reviewed and studied and contemplated as to what can be done and what should be done and what can they do. And I can tell you that they did phenomenal work at two schools, Solano Middle School, just this 2 Saturdays ago, I believe, and at Highland Elementary School to honor Martin Luther King Jr. on Martin Luther King Day. So we have representatives from the organizations that provided this great work, and I'd like to call forward, geez, if I can remember her name. How can I forget? Elizabeth Hoffman. Could you please come forward? And Elizabeth Hoffman is the executive director of Rebuilding Together Solano County. And for several years now, she has provided great service to our needy seniors regarding home repair and making sure that they're able to live in a home that is safe and sound. And they've been doing that, but again, from time to time, on an annual basis, they select a school, and so they've selected those schools. So can we give one more round of applause to Elizabeth Hoffman?
Thank you very much. Rebuilding Together has been very pleased to partner with the school district. We have now done a completion of 4 projects with the school district, and we just look forward to doing many more projects with you guys.
And if I may, I would like to call up our business donors. These things don't happen in silos, and it takes organizations and commitment and money. And so, and heart. Because someone didn't provide money, but they provided heart, and they provided talent. And Mr. Moreau Salazar, could you please come forward? Moreau Salazar is an artist extraordinaire. You've seen his work throughout our community. He designed and contributed murals to both of those schools. If you haven't had the opportunity, please go take a look. But of course, check in the office first. Do not go in there without checking into the office. So I want to thank Mr. Moreau Salazar. And may I also thank the business community. And tonight we have representatives of Home Depot, if you can please come forward. Vince Malati from Home Depot. We have our representative from Kaiser Permanente, Shiama Clooney. I saw her come in. Ms. Clooney, come in. We have our representative from Recology Vallejo.
Oh, he was unable to be here.
Unable to be here, he had garage door problem, I think. And then we have our Home Depot, Recology, Kaiser, Wells Fargo, Jen Rosendale. And I think we have them all. If I can ask Dr. Clark and President Worrell to come forward and hand these people their plaques. All right.
Mr. Home Depot. Are you gonna take a picture?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if I can.
Mayor, you can't be seen.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, I've been recognized with what they had. Yeah, I want to really congratulate the people. I was out at both of them. I have to admit, I worked at the Highland one. I worked pretty hard. I just schmoozed at the Solano one, so I'm not going to say good. But obviously, our corporate sponsors are great. Volunteer groups, the one I knew pretty well. Sometimes some of us get a little bit too old to be doing the heavy grunt work, but we're really good at feeding people. And that was Community Presbyterian Church. Volunteers work at both Highland and at Solano, and they really had a good time out there. And we get the young people working, whether it's Cal Maritime people or Travis people, and they can pack away a lot of food. And congratulations on another. I mean, this is really a hallmark kind of event in Vallejo. It's something we can really take great pride, actually great pride. We're happy, obviously, as a school district, getting this help, but just seeing people out there doing something for our public schools. Thank you very much.
I'm also very thankful for rebuilding together. The first one was Highland, and I went there because of my wife, who used to be a former teacher, and I ended up enjoying myself. And so the second go around, I decided to go by myself because my wife was away, and also had a wonderful time. And just picking up all those murals and painting, you know, and it was a beautiful experience. And to see the joy and the celebration of the people who participated is just incredible. And to see Eva Garcia, who was there, and Shyla, and Clutie, and others. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience those last, the 2 times that I participated. Thank you, Elizabeth, for everything.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, forms. 6.1, reports of student representatives. Jasmine?
Good evening, school board. I'm Jasmine Chavez, here to represent Vallejo. Previous activities that happened at Vallejo was our prom that was held on May 5th. We had over 300 students in attendance. It was an overall success with no incident, and everyone was safe and had a good time. On May 9th, our CSF club went to Sanford for a campus tour. The first week of AP testing is now complete. We are currently in the middle of the second week of testing. We hosted the Special Olympics on Friday, May 11th. It was a tremendous success as we had over 100 Vallejo High School students volunteer to help with the event. On Saturday, May 12th, we hosted, along with our other band programs in Vallejo, the City of Vallejo Band Festival. We had won the Mayor's Trophy, which was very joyful and emotional for the seniors in the Vallejo High School Band. On Tuesday, May 15th, the Hospitality Academy went to the Culinary Institute of America for a field trip. Upcoming events include tomorrow, May 17th, there will be a Latino Academic Achievement Award ceremony in room 483 during lunch and fifth period. Friday, May 18th, we will be having our fellow rally on Corvus Field along with our senior picnic starting at 4:30 p.m. to sunset. We are currently accepting student government applications for next school year. Applications will be due May 22nd and elections will begin on May 29th. Seniors will be leaving for grad night on May 23rd and return on May 25th. Senior finals will begin on May 29th, the Tuesday we come back. That's all. Questions?
Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, question, where was your prom held at?
Chardonnay Golf Club.
Excellent, I know, that was the one I think I mentioned last time, I was really proud to see that we're at least spending the money somewhat locally. It'd be really desirable, I've always thought, to have our proms in Vallejo. We don't have probably the right kind of site for it, Zia-Fredo is probably a little bit too small. But I think it's very important that we spend money in our town, and also that we avoid the possible risk of we run into on proms of accidents and stuff like that happen. So happy to hear that. Second of all, about the band, it's good to hear that the band director, Carmel Pajita, is my former student. And good to see that. And I'm really proud of our people that have been in band. Band is not for training future musicians. Band is developing a certain discipline, way of life. You got to handle all the band stuff, plus you got to get decent grades. And I had people over the years who had them. One of them's now an assistant DA in Yolo County, and that doesn't seem to be involving any band work at all. But others have gone on to be quite successful, and I know that the band and the arts, because I want to promote the arts too, whether it's drama, painting, stuff like that, really is an important thing. And it's not to produce future artists, it's produce future good human beings as adults. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other student representatives here tonight? Any other student representatives? Okay, seeing that. Before we move on, let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. There's a lot of people here. If you pass community forum, there's a overflow room down at the end of the hall. If you want to go sit there and wait and come back after community forum, if you're not talking at community forum, maybe the room will thin out by then, but there are plenty of chairs down in the overflow room. It's your choice. I'm just making the suggestion.
If they go down there, it's on video.
Yeah, it's on video. Yeah, I'm sorry. The video, you can see it on the video of the meeting as it goes on. So it's just for those of you, if you want to stand, be my guest. We'll move on now to 6.2. BEA is first tonight.
Good evening, everyone. The first thing I wanted to report out on is that last week was the National Week of Teacher Appreciation, and last Wednesday we went ahead and had a teacher appreciation dinner for our teachers, and we had over 150 or so teachers come and celebrate with us. And this is something that we need to remember all year long, that it's just not for one day or 1 week a year, but our teachers and all of our employees work really hard all year long. And they give the best they can to the district, to our community, and to our students. So even though it's not Teacher Appreciation Week anymore, go ahead and thank a teacher, because every single person in this room more than likely had a teacher, and they helped you be who you are today. We had our officer election, VEA officer election last week, and you're stuck with me for another 2 years. So I know, but something else that's going on in our schools right now is that state testing is going on. And I know that our high school students talked about that, but it is something that affects all kids from 3rd grade on up. And even though the test has been changed over the years,
When you go and you see a 3rd, 4th, 5th grader sit there and take all day long to do a test, there's something wrong with the process. Because they don't have that attention span, they shouldn't be forced to have to do it. So it's something that as a society we need to take a look at because it's not healthy for our kids. But it is something that is going on. One thing that VEA does every year at this time is that we support our members by giving out scholarships to graduating seniors of our members. And so next week we'll be announcing 7 scholarships for our members and their kids. So that is something we look forward to doing every single year. And the last thing that we've been involved in recently is we've been doing a lot of phone banking, just getting the information out there about Tony Thurman, who's running for Superintendent of Public Instruction, pro-education candidate. So everyone remember, vote. You should have all gotten your ballots in the mail, and we need to make sure that there's a good turnout for the upcoming election. Thank you.
CSEA representative?
I spoke with Mike Rhodes today, and he really wanted to be here. He had planned on being here, and at the last minute he couldn't. So he sent me this because he wanted to make sure that he was able to speak through me. So President Worrell, trustees, and Dr. Clark, I'm sorry I couldn't be here tonight. As you know, my daughter Brandy has lost her fight with cancer, and I am planning for her celebration of life. Thank you all. Those who have sent cards and kind words, Brandy will forever be in my heart. I am concerned with our school board being able to get through the meeting without bickering. Tonight they must decide about putting the bond on the ballot. One of these issues members of the community has with our school is the condition of the facilities. As we compete with charter schools that are building brand new facilities, we need to be concerned with the condition of ours. I think we should allow the citizens of this community to decide the fate of this issue. I encourage this school board to vote yes and put the bond on the ballot. Thank you for your time. I also wanted to say that next week is Member Appreciation Week, and so we're gonna have our yearly chili cook-off at Bethel. I believe it starts at 5 o'clock. So those who work here, if your department wants to enter chili cook-off, please call transportation. We'll put you in. It's a lot of fun. You get a big trophy. You get to hold in your department for a year. And we also will be having a member retirement on June 1st, also at Bethel. I believe it's $15 a plate, so if you know somebody who's retiring, it'd be nice for you to come out and support. You can also contact transportation and we'll put you down on the list. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Trustee Kianya.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's sorry to hear that Randy is no longer with us. So I request the president that we adjourn the meeting in memory of Randy Rhodes, as well as the importance of getting tested for cancer. And also, I hope we could send our positive thoughts and condolences to Mr. Rhodes and family at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You could please write those names down and pass them this way. Trustee Ubaldi.
Thank you for your report. When is the membership appreciation?
It's on Thursday, the 24th.
What time?
Usually they start around 5:15. 5:15.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now we will hear from VSMA.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you. Just short and sweet, and to echo what my counterparts have stated, I just want to reiterate the importance of allowing the bond to go to the voters. So tonight, as you are sitting here today, that you really think about that if we want to make steps to improve our schools in ways that have been suggested, that we really need to get behind the bond. Thank you.
Point 3 is report of district advisory committees. I thought we had
Oh,
one.
do we have one?
Mr. Martinez from DLAC.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Enrique Martinez, co-chair for DLAC. What I wanted to say was that I don't think we have enough translators, Spanish to English. Fortunately, I can speak, very well English and Spanish. Unfortunately, my wife doesn't. And we had a little incident in a LCAP meeting in Pennycook where there was no translators at all. I know we have Ivan Zuniga, which I'd like to thank for all his good work that he's doing. Juan Zuniga, Rebecca Varela, Isela Garcia, and Alta Garcia. I don't think it's enough translators for the whole schools. We have too many schools for this many translators, so if we can do something about that, because the Spanish parents are very important to the school district. They like to go and listen to what the meetings are all about, what the school district is talking about, and the only way they can understand is if you have a translator. So, thank you very much.
Trustee Lawson.
Yes.
Yeah, now, in terms of the translators, do we have one for each school?
I believe we have one in Jezebel. I'm not sure with Juan Zuniga is. Rebecca, which works in the office. I believe one of the schools that doesn't have one is Vallejo High, and I'm not sure about other schools.
The reason I say this is because I know, particularly in some of these things with the meetings with parents at night, they may be at a school where they don't have a translator. We do have translators. Do we have any sort of setup where if we need a translator somewhere, we, offer, pay them overtime or pay X? My daughter-in-law, for instance, Adriana Zaragoza, is a translator at Hogan Middle, but has gone to other places for testing and stuff like that. So I don't know how many people we've got that are capable. Sometimes the people are not official translators, they have other jobs, but they would be available. And I probably would need to maybe work on creating a system where we know we're gonna be able to get people out if we have a school that doesn't have a translator.
Yeah, because sometimes there's, meetings in the same day. So let's say you guys got these many translators, you send one over there, one over here, and then, there's no more to send to other meetings. I think that's what happened in that case, Pennycook, there was no translators. I guess all of them were too busy. But I don't think it's enough.
And I know this is important. I've been actually a champion of keeping ELOC separate from the regular DAC, partly because I felt even with translators, sometimes the ELOC parents sometimes feel left out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even with the translator, the guy that speaks into the cone, if they still have that guy, but to have ownership of a group you belong to, you got to feel like your group means something and has its own identity.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I mean, translate, like I said, I can defend myself language-wise, but it's very hard for me to translate at the same time that I'm trying to understand the meeting, trying to translate for my wife, because she doesn't speak English. And she's very passionate. She's very strict with our kids. We have 4 daughters. One actually went to Sonoma State College. We have another one in Jezebel with the 4.0. So we try to keep our kids, pushing them to do good in school. And my wife, not able to speak the language, suggested that we do need a little bit more translators.
It's important, and of course, we have parents who represent 42% of our students in our school district, and I know that they do want to get out and support. There was a cave last week for their, one of their parents, they have their parent night in the afternoon, and the place was just jam-packed with parents and stuff, and it really was really great. So thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Kenyon.
Thank you for your report. When's the next ELAC meeting?
Mr. Martinez.
And also thank you for bringing this issue about the translators, lack of them to the board.
Yeah, I believe I spoke in the last meeting about it, and I don't think they hire anybody. You guys said that you guys want to hire somebody else, but I haven't seen anybody being hired.
And what's the next meeting of your committee?
May 26th.
At
the Vallejo.
Vallejo.
Professional.
Okay. And has the district presented like a draft LCAP to your committee already, or will that be at your next committee meeting?
No, I think we have next meeting. Okay, yeah, next meeting.
I would suggest, well, before I suggest, has the committee advocated for more translators whenever the district presented anything about the LCAP or upcoming LCAP?
Not that I know.
So I would suggest if the committee wants to get more translators, that they advocate and hopefully it shows up in the proposed LCAP plan, because my understanding is the LCAP plan is going to come before the board, because we have the final say over it next month. So I encourage you and the community to please give a lot of input on the upcoming LCAP plan.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Vice
Good.
President?
Oh, is there more?
Yeah, Vice President Kearney-Brown.
Yeah, my one question is there a master calendar for the district where all these meetings are posted? Is there a master calendar? Okay, because I'm noticing on the calendar, not, there'll be meetings that I look for that are not there. So if we could figure out a way to make that more official. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move, there's no more
Thank you, sir.
district advisory committee reports. Okay, we'll move on to 6.4, community members. If Dr. Shelsa would move towards the podium, followed by Esteban Lopez and John Riley. And as you're moving towards the podium, let me reiterate, community forum is for anything that is not on the agenda. Evidently, the gentleman I called 3 times last week, he put down the bond under community forum. And you're not allowed to speak on agendized item in community forum. If you start to speak on an item that's on the agenda during community forum, you will be ruled out of order. That's the way it works. So, and if you have a card, if you want to talk in community forum, you need to put your card in now. These are for items that are not on the agenda. Trustee Kenyan.
Thank you, President. We also want to read a section from our governance handbook, just to remind the public during meetings. Members of the public may not disrupt the orderly conduct of these meetings. The public may not shout or use amplifying devices, must submit comment cards and speak during their allotted time, may not create a disturbance, may not use inappropriate language or actions, may not speak on matters unrelated to issues within the jurisdiction of the school board or the item at hand, and may not cause threats to public safety. The president or presiding officer may rule that individual out of order for disruptions or being out of compliance. If it occurs repeatedly, the president will ask the site safety and escort the individual out of the room and call recess as needed.
Thank you. Dr. Shessel, followed by Estefan Lopez, and then John Riley, and then Hazel Wilson. Dr. Shessel.
Right, thank you. Good evening. I want to talk about 6 things. There's some serious issues that the public can't get an answer to, and there needs to be greater transparency. The first is students told you last year that an inequality exists between the policies of the principals at Bethel and Vallejo High School. At Vallejo High School, students get extra credit when they take advanced courses at the community college, but at Bethel they don't. For students going to college, the lack of these additional credits can penalize their chances of getting to the school of their choice. This is dramatically unfair. Why is the superintendent allowing this disparity to exist, and why is there no uniform policy? The education should be the same at both high schools. Second, what is happening with the surveying for the California Healthy Kids Survey? Surveying should have been completed in December 2017. Will this be the second year in a row that the district screwed up the administration of the Healthy Kids Survey? Where's the accountability among staff? 3, it's been nearly 3 months since the scathing report about special education at the district was released. When will there be a plan for fixing special education? Millions of dollars were squandered. Isn't it time to do something and stop this? 4, you internally had a draft of the FIGMAT business operations report for several months. Basically, business operations is broken, and I say broken. When will a plan be released to fix it, and are we going to get quarterly updates? 5, what is being done to improve chronic absenteeism in the district? The district had this data since December 2017. The district wasn't even aware of how much, literally, it's losing millions of dollars in ADA money. Isn't it time that some plan to fix this problem exists? And lastly, will the district have FIGMAT review HR and the operations area? As with the other areas, HR and operations appears to have numerous issues. The FIGMAT consultant told the board that in her opinion, all areas in the district that have been studied by FIGMAT in the past appear to have deteriorated in her opinion and are now below acceptable levels. Will the district ignore the FIGMAT consultant's insights and try to look the other way as they've done on other issues? I think these are 2 areas that need attention, and I just hope that the board puts pressure on the superintendent to do this. Thank you.
Next is Estefan Lopez, followed by John Riley, Hazel Wilson, and then Walker? Miss Lopez.
Kids are the priority of every school. Safety is first. In Cooper School, every day students are in danger because we do not have a parking lot for parents. In addition, we do not have a Spanish-speaking person that can help parents to know the activities and the progress of the children throughout of the year. By not having a Spanish-speaking person in the school, parents cannot get involved in the education of children. By having a parking lot, many of accidents can be prevented and have a safety welcoming to a school every day under the supervision of the school staff. Also, with a Spanish-speaking person in the school, parents can be more involved in the education of kids. In the last few minutes, I addressed the problem of Cooper School by not having a Spanish-speaking person who can help parents and get involved with the education of children. I hope you understand my worry and take action of this problem because kids are the future of our country. Thank you.
Valley is next, followed by Hazel Wilson, Walkup, and Michael Eng. Yeah.
Good evening, board, staff, citizens of Vallejo. John Riley, I'm a retired fire captain from the city of Vallejo. I'm also the executive director of the Napa Solano Labor Council. Last week, we got some incredible news for the city of Vallejo that the Mare Island Dry Docks is going to be receiving the USS Emory Land. It is a subtender that's going to be bringing 350 sailors to Vallejo, and they're going to be doing work over 100 days. We found this out Thursday. Friday, I met with Christine, and Monday, we had a committee that was made up of the representatives of the city manager's office. The mayor was there. The Maritime Academy had a representative. The Chamber of Commerce, Visit Vallejo, Labor, as well as representatives from Mike Thompson's office, Grayson's office, and Bill Dodd's office. What we would like to do is welcome that ship to Vallejo and the 350 sailors that are going to be on board and going to be staying in our community that want to be involved in our community. And we're going to provide 2 opportunities for the public to enjoy that and to be part of that historical moment when the Navy comes back to town, so to speak. At 1 o'clock, they're supposed to be coming through the straits, and we're working with the Navy right now, and hopefully the sailors will be up on the, what do they call it, Bob? Man the rails, and we're trying to get as many folks as we can on the Vallejo side of the water. We're going to have a welcoming festivity that they'll never forget, and we're encouraging our youth, and if the school district can get involved, so that we can show them our history, the history of Vallejo and how Vallejo was built, and also show the young men and women that are going to be on the ship that what kind of town that we have. And so that's going to be at 1 o'clock. It takes 4 hours for the ship to berth and for to be ready for the sailors to disembark. And at that time, we're going to have a reception at the Mare Island Museum. So the first thing these young people see is a link with our rich history, our promising future, and what the Navy meant to the city of Vallejo. So stand by. We just started planning this Monday. We have a lot of folks that are involved, and we hope that the school district will participate as well and get as many of the young people out there to see what used to be when I was growing up. When they had a ship come in or leave, we were lined up down there on the water watching them come and go. So thank you very much. You should be reading about it in the paper, and we'll be reaching out to all of you to participate. So thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Ubaldi.
Thank you for that wonderful report, Mr. Riley. When are they coming in? What day?
So it's Thursday, March 31st. I'm sorry, May. Time flies, you're having fun, right, Dr. Clark? I'll be that. So May 31st, it's a Thursday. They're due to come in at 1 p.m. and then the festivities will probably begin about 5:30 at the museum.
That's school day, obviously, Dr. Clark. Is there some way we can respond to that request, sir?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hazel Wilson, followed by TJ Walkup, Michael Eng, and Joanna.
Good evening. I'm very excited to invite the community on Sunday, June 3rd, to the 14th Annual African American Graduation Recognition Celebration. Students from the Vallejo schools, as well as other African American students throughout Solano County, will be celebrating and recognized for the graduation. It will be at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're excited that Dr. Adam Clark will be our keynote speaker. There will be scholarships, grants, and other non-monetary awards presented that evening. This event is sponsored by Alpha Kappa Beta Omega chapter, who will be awarding $5,000 in scholarships to Vallejo students. On Saturday, June 19th, we will be celebrating Juneteenth African American Family Day at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park in Vallejo. We have partnered with the school district for the Pack the Bus, where we will be collecting school supplies for our wonderful teachers in the Vallejo City Unified School District. We thank you for supporting these two positive events, and we hope that everyone will come out to the celebration. As far as classroom supplies, the Sabathia Foundation has ensured that every third grade teacher in the district will receive a box, a classroom box of supplies for 30 students. So every third grade class in the Vallejo City Unified School District will have a classroom box, supplies for 30 students. We will have other announcements later in the summer concerning their backpack program. Thank you very much.
Please walk up, followed by Michael, Joanna, and then Kamala Sullivan.
Thank you, board members and the superintendent, for listening to us today and hearing our voices. I really appreciate you guys coming here every month and doing the hard work on the side as well to make sure that things go well for us. I have a couple of concerns. One, I want to echo a couple of things in the room I thought was really wonderful. The awards being given to African American students. It's a great little celebration, sounds like. And also the idea of having more translators. 38% of our state speaks Spanish, so it's not out of the realm of thinking of bringing more translators in to help everybody understand and participate in the democracy of it all. Lastly, I want to mention a couple other things, just some housekeeping for the general public. I have a 7-year-old kid in Cave Elementary. Might be a resource for you guys for Spanish as well, for a translator. I work with Rebuilding Together. I'm really proud of them, and I was glad to be here. I didn't know they're getting an award tonight. I'm happy for them as well. I also want to talk about the conduct of the board and Dr. Clark as well. I've seen the meetings in raw form, and I just want to say, you guys, whatever it takes to get along, whatever it takes to show each other some love and understanding, whatever it takes to forgive each other, whatever it takes to do the people's business without all the tussling about, it would be great. And I'd love to see that happen, and we can move forward with that. Also, I don't want to see any shaming in the room if somebody asks for help, whether it's from a mediator or a federal judge or whatever. We should engage each other in a very positive light with that. I think that's all good stuff to build, and we have to move forward. We're counting on it. There's a lot of money to cut out of the budget, it sounds like. I've been watching those budgetary committee meetings. I have to give a pat on the back to Hitesh, is that his name? Yeah? This gentleman runs meetings really, really well. They're just barely getting to the surface of some of the financial things we've got to deal with, and there's some people who have some great ideas about how to save money. Lastly, as a person who lives in the district, is a stakeholder in the district, and knows that every citizen in Vallejo is a stakeholder in seeing our schools go well, right? We most would agree upon that. We have different ways of looking at it, but I think we all want it to go right here. I would ask that we take a look at where we may have failed in the past financially and do the hard work to take care of business regarding that. In the committee, they're talking about it's a top-heavy district, and so that means some tough decisions have to be made. And if I was on a cutting board, I think I'd understand how awful it would feel. But I think the decisions have to be made. And looking at contracts all the way back to '95 that haven't changed, when we have 6 out of 10 kids not in the school district anymore. Another thing is, if there is anyone who has a question about anything, Dr. Clark has invited people to engage with him on a matter. If you have a concern, you should email any of the board members, I think, and Dr. Clark. Another way for us to get proper information, maybe the school district can find a PIO, because if you guys are all really busy with other issues right now and committees and things that are reporting to you, it might be good to have a PIO on board just to handle some of the business of dispersing information. So thank you so much for you guys for all the hard work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, Joanna, and then Kamala.
Good evening, Vallejo School Board members.
Good evening.
My name is Michael Nong, and I've grown up in Vallejo all my life. Having attended Wardlaw Elementary, Springstown Middle School, and then ending up graduating at Jesse Bethel High School as a member of the class of 2015. Now I'm currently enrolled in Solano Community College in a pursuit to be an X-ray technician. And I would like to thank you and all the teachers at the schools I have attended for helping me throughout my education by being encouraging, showing nothing but support when needed, and teaching me techniques and values that I use now in college and will continue to use throughout my life. Thank you for your time.
And then Tamala.
Okay, how do you follow that? Choco Berkey, and thank you for giving us the warning about not to speak to an agenda item. I didn't know that, and I'm a little fuzzy. I've been at school since 7:15, so thank you for the warning. So I immediately changed what I was going to say. I will not speak specifically to my issue. But I think what I am going to do, very, very briefly, you have an application today. You will probably get another one next month. You will probably get one 6 months from now, okay? So what I want to do is speak just generally in terms of what I want y'all to think about in terms of early childhood education. And then no matter what comes down the pike, you've got a little bit more information to evaluate whatever heads your way, okay? We know from Vygotsky for half a century, we've known this, that kids learn best when they're learning most effectively peer-to-peer in discussing their learnings. From my 4.5-year-olds to seniors in high school, like that brilliant kid that just spoke. Okay, we know from Piaget that kids construct their learnings. They need manipulatives, they need hands-on, collaborative environments, project-based learning, and that's why this district has spent a lot of precious PD money in helping teachers develop expertise in this area. When you evaluate anything, look at how the kids are spending their time. If they're spending hours and hours in silence, or if they're spending hours and hours on a computer screen supervised by aides, they are not doing what research tells us will support them in their development in the most healthy way. It can even harm them, okay? I can teach a monkey which buttons to push to get the right answer on a test if I give them the right reward. And speaking of standardized tests, if I have my kids take them and take them and take them over again, yeah, their scores will improve. But what do you know? It turns out that there's been long-term research studies, and they document that of all the academic interventions that we do, from preschool to high school, the one that's most effective and a best predictor of later life success is social skills in kindergarten. Okay? So it turns out, that sharing and caring are greater predictors for life success than the amount of time you spend on a screen learning sight words. Okay? So I would like you to consider this early childhood education research in a nutshell. If you have any further questions, you know where to find me. If you want to see what hands-on balanced learning looks like, please come by my classroom or any of the other TK classrooms in this district. We're all fabulous. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Last speaker is Kamala.
My issue tonight that I'd like to bring up is talking about interpreters. I've noticed as a person from the deaf and hard of hearing community that parents themselves who are deaf, they have hearing children in the school system. Here in Vallejo, we have several families like that. They will request an interpreter. And sometimes they're told no. Or interpreters aren't being provided who are qualified. That's a problem. Also, talking about Spanish translators, we seem to always have, for the most part, someone available who can translate or interpret in that situation, but when talking through ASL, there's not anyone available in the district at all. And also, we have to request an interpreter days before the meeting or the appointment, and we sometimes have to beg for someone to show up if they even show up. And I'm not really sure how we can mediate this problem, how we can solve it, but it's definitely a problem. And there should be a requirement for everybody, for any kind of interpreter. If I have to request one, I think every language should, maybe that should be the protocol. So, that's what I have to say. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The questions, I taught in the Vallejo schools, I taught ESL, and it wasn't just Spanish speakers, but also Bengali, Hindi, Urdu, Assyrian, we have Assyrians in our school district. And I know it was difficult, there was never a conscious effort to not get people, but sometimes it's real difficult to find. With the ASL, I think obviously under ADA, obviously, you have a right to that kind of service. And so I think it's just kind of a question of maybe on the district's part of making it a little more clear and making it, obviously we can't hire 26 ASL translators for the schools because we can't afford that, and besides the population, the population dealing with Spanish speaker translators is a little bit larger than that for the deaf. However, nonetheless, you do have a right to have that kind of stuff, and we should, work with the district in making sure that we've got these people, lengthen our list, and streamline the process, obviously. Thank you for making a presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, also, I just would like to advocate for the parents themselves who are deaf at other schools. There's been complaints from the deaf community that they've been told no. Or there's an interpreter who shows up who's just not qualified, they're not certified.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much.
Moving on, just before we move on, if you read the back of the card, it says, items not listed on the agenda may also be addressed under community forum. So it is here if you read it. It's always been here. Moving on to 6.4. Trustee Kearney-Brown.
Thank you, President Burrow. Yes, I request the superintendent get, as we learned from the speakers this evening, that we get an update regarding the lack of interpreters, as well as we get an update regarding the chocolate education that Ms. Chocoho brought up this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on now to 7, superintendent's report. 7.1, board and relations mediation. Dr. Clark.
Well, before we get to the mediation, I'm going to be real brief in my report tonight because we have many things to get to. On October 2nd, after our initial budget was approved by this board and then certified by the county, we received a lengthy letter from the county about our budget and about reductions that we needed to make in our second interim. So today we finally received our letter from the county about our second interim budget, and I'm happy to note that the county is pleased with our efforts. We've gone through a very, very difficult process in reducing $8 million from our budget for next year, and the letter that we received from the county that I forwarded to the governing board this afternoon and also forwarded to the Times Herald. It does say that the district has made great strides. I'll just read the last paragraph. It just says, I would like to express my appreciation to the district for its cooperation during the second interim review process. The letter will be posted online for anyone to come and wants to read that letter. But it does warn that we are still continuing to deal with declining enrollment and the rising costs of PERS and STIRS. And so we are going to have to deal with that in the future. And so although we've made great strides to balance our budget, there is still plenty of work to be done. So with that, that includes that section of my report, but I have 2 other items in my report. And so the next one will be item 7.1. And pull that up here.
President Roy, I just have a question on the superintendent's report. Just a quick one.
Trustee Kenyanya.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Clark, for sharing the update on the letter from the Solano County Office of Education. And it did answer my question on if the letter will be posted on our website. Does the letter also contain like attachments, like the previous letter, like the technical stuff? Or
No, it
not
does
this
not.
time?
Yeah, not this time.
Okay.
So everything I received, I forwarded to the board. I forwarded the draft to the board last week in my Friday letter, and then I forwarded the final copy today. So the board has everything that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So next item, item 7, oh, we do have a speaker card for 7.0, I believe. You sure?
Dr. Cecil,
I'll pass it.
you don't want to speak?
So 7.1, board relations mediation, is recommended that the governing board discuss and provide direction regarding engaging in a third-party mediator for president, for the president and vice president of the board, but also if we are going to go down this road, then of course we would include the other trustees and the superintendent as well. So with that said, I will turn it over to Vice President Kearney-Brown.
This was your agenda item. So if anybody has anything to say about it, you can go ahead. This was not my agenda item.
So I received a message from Vice President Kearney-Brown, and it says that she's concerned that the lack of a working relationship between herself and Board President Worrell interferes with the board's ability to conduct school district business, and is requesting that the superintendent hire a third-party person who specializes in mediation to assist in resolving the differences. So as a superintendent, I'm asking the board, is this something that you would like me to pursue?
And just to point out, I received the same exact email from Vice President Kearney-Brown. She is the one who's requesting that there be a mediation session between herself and me. She brought this forward. And if I didn't put it on the agenda, I would be accused of not putting items she requested on the agenda. So that's why it's on the agenda. Trustee Lawson.
As far as I'm concerned, if people want to say mean things to me, if they want to say I'm fat, if they want to accuse me of being stupid, but I'll play you for money if you do. The fact is, the most telling thing in the stuff on this thing is fiscal impact. The estimated cost of services is to be determined. I'm not going to vote to spend one dime to hire somebody to straighten us out, okay? I am not going to go to touchy-feely. And, you know, feel free to hurt my feelings. I'm sure not going to ask the school district to pony up money to make me feel better about myself. Thank you.
Vice President Kearney-Brown.
Okay. On February 1st, after receiving many complaints from community members about how I let Berkey bully me, I spoke to, Dr. Ubaldi suggested that he meet with Trustee Worrell and myself to mediate, which I found to be something that would be completely inappropriate. Then I got a phone call from Dr. Clark who said that Mr. Worrell was gonna file charges against me with the DA. And Dr. Clark said he didn't want to get involved. And I asked him if he didn't want to get involved, why he was calling me about it, because Mr. Worrell never turned me over to the DA. I still don't know what it was about. So at that point, I asked that after getting recommendations from superintendents in other school districts, board members from other school districts, that was a suggestion, and I ran it by Leadership Associates, the exact wording, to Dr. Clark, as part of his responsibilities with managing board relations. So he said he'd look into it. I asked him a month later. He said he hadn't had a chance to talk to Dr. Worrell about it. Mr. Worrell. And periodically, when I would get a complaint about the demeanor of board members and the tenor of the whole governing team, the vibe among people, I would repeat that request. And I got no response. And so on April 18th, I wrote to both Dr. Worrell and Dr. Clark to ask about specifically us. Now, the thing is, I specifically told Dr. Clark that I didn't want it on a board agenda and that I'd be willing to pay for the mediation myself. But nothing came of it. Now, here's my agenda item. The lack of a working relationship among board members and leadership team is adversely affecting the ability for us to effectively conduct school and school district business. I request an agenda item to consider hiring a third-party mediator to help us resolve our differences and to learn to work effectively as a team. That was just a suggestion. It's an agenda item. Since then, I've got a lot of feedback from community members who suggested perhaps a parliamentarian, perhaps actually following the guidelines in our governance handbook. And another was perhaps board members could call point of order when other board members are berating community members, because bullying can only happen when bystanders allow it. So what precipitated my May 3rd request was an email that a parent sent to Dr. Clark and then the next day forwarded to me that said, I was at the meeting last night and a previous meeting. I could not stay silent any longer. The culture of the district starts with the leadership team. How can we expect improvement within the district when the leadership team is an embarrassment? I have been in 2 board meetings and I am appalled at what I see and hear. From the disrespect to the blatant eye rolls and the exaggerated facial expressions. This applies to board members and chief officers. If this is how the leadership team conducts business, no wonder there is a cultural infrastructure problem in other departments in the district. No wonder audience members are rude and disrespectful as well. If we are going to be teaching students how to be respectful, why is it adults don't know how to respectfully disagree? The entire district needs a cultural shift and it has to start at the top. This woman came and spoke to the board to the meeting before about a problem with her child in the school district. But once she sent me this, I've actually met her. She intended to come and speak to this, but had to go to her kindergartner's graduation from a local, or preschool graduation. She asked me to read this. So I in no way would ask the board to debate whether or not Berkey and I should be discussing this with a mediator. I was surprised at the agenda item because it wasn't my agenda item. My agenda item was talking about board relations. But I did think, wow, they finally put one of my agenda items on. And in the past 2 months, I've asked for a report on math at high school, a report on Ed Code 17604, because Ed Code 17604 says that no matter who's designated to enter into contracts for the district, no contract is valid unless it is ratified or approved by a majority of the board and reported out in open session. And we have $16 million in consulting contracts, and I know we're not approving $1 million a month on average, $1 million something on consulting contracts. So I want to make sure we're clear on that, to make sure that we're not hiring contract, without board approval as required by law. I wanted an update on transportation because that's an issue. I wanted an update on special ed recommendations, and actually last week everybody wanted an update on the scathing special ed report that the district received. I also wanted, I have an agenda request in that's been ongoing, asking how we're ensuring that the students who are without teachers or without teachers for all or part of the year, or who never have a teacher at all, how are we ensuring that they are at grade level and they're been given grade level instruction? So those are the agenda items that I have requested. The one I did request was that we consider hiring a third-party mediator to help the board resolve our differences and to to work effectively as a team. I'm just grasping at straws because I'm getting all this email, people coming to my office hours talking about how horrible it is. I'm getting people who used to come to the meetings who said, I'm not going. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. And so that's what I was trying to address. I actually I emailed Mr. Worrell and Mr. Clark about perhaps correcting the agenda, that if it was going to be my item, that it was actually my item. So I just think this is part of the, it just demonstrates an improvement that we need to make. So thank you.
Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, excuse me for wanting to speak again, to be short and sweet. I think the primary dysfunction on the board is that some of us don't always vote the way other people wish we would vote. I know I'm a disappointment because I was figured to be the third member of a group that was going to come in and fire everybody, which of course we don't have the power to do. Okay, I've sold before. I ran for the board and I supported Marianne, they supported me, and I got Harry Diabatis and the Vallejo Alumni Association to support Marianne. They didn't know who she was. I said she'll be good. No problem there. But I'm saying that the fact is, well, all of a sudden I wasn't providing that vital third vote to do everything. Then suddenly we became dysfunctional, and I really resent that. The fact is, I don't know anybody, for crying out loud. I've written letters about this, how I got elected, where I got my money, and I got a lot less money than some people did who won elections. And so the thing is, I just kind of resent, but it also, I didn't win. Well, you don't take your ball and go home. Real simple. This is democracy, majority rules, except for a bond issue where you have to have a super majority, fine. But, so I think a lot of it. I would actually at this point want to move that this item be tabled indefinitely.
One last comment. In Robert's Rules of Order, it specifically says that we will not impugn the motives of other board members, that we will speak to the issues. And that's one of the things that happens often. And the emails I've got have nothing to do with you not being some kind of third vote. The emails I get is about the blatant eye rolling, the snickering, the muttering, and the allowing of community members to do the same thing. So this was Dr. Clark's agenda item. People can do whatever they want with it.
This was, I'm going to be very brief on this. Trustee Vice President Kearney-Brown said I contacted the district attorney, and I did. What I contacted the district attorney on was a complaint was made against Vice President Kearney-Brown. Vice President Kearney-Brown refused to recuse herself from the closed session discussion on that complaint. That's what it was. I've never seen anybody who had a complaint against them, whether it's a trustee or a city council member, sit in on the closed session discussion about the complaint. So that's what I contacted the district attorney about. The second thing is, we already had a workshop on building relations. That was back in January of last year. It's unfortunate we didn't broadcast that one because somebody got into a 20-minute argument with the presenter, who was from CSBA, and then they turned around and filed a complaint against that presenter because I was called by CSBA to give my side of the story. There is nothing wrong with disagreement. The ones who keep complaining that I'm bullying Vice President Kearney-Brown is her supporters. I had a gentleman after the meeting last week say to me, who is highly respected in this community, that he said, and he's run meetings like this before, he said, I ran a good meeting, but he didn't know why I had so much patience. So I know the people who write the thing saying I'm bullying Vice President Kearney-Brown. So are they going to stop? No. Until either I'm off the board or she's off the board. Her people are going to continue to complain about me, and I can take that. And my job, 30 years as a police officer, trust me, I've had a whole lot worse said to me than what her supporters are saying about me. So with that said, we'll try and move on. I'm sorry. Dr. Ubaldi?
Yeah, my name was mentioned earlier, and yes, I did offer Trustee Kearney-Brown the possibility of sitting down with President Worrell, but she said that that was not appropriate because of the Brown Act, and so I never followed up and talked to President Worrell about it. I was just trying to attempt, as a member of the board, to bring two people together, because this matter is not going to be resolved by the superintendent. We are his boss, and he is not qualified to do that. Well, qualified perhaps, but it's not the appropriate thing. But all I was trying to do was attempt to bring two people together. And it was stated that, it was inappropriate. I happen to have a certificate on conflict resolution. And so it's a matter of simply respecting and honoring each other, and there's nothing unique about that. And what the harm is the impact that we're having toward our students and our faculty. Yes. And just understanding those two realities should stop us from being so dysfunctional. And all I was trying to do was attempt to bring two people together. And I hope that I could have that opportunity, and it should be resolved by the board, no one else. We don't need a third-party consultant. I mean, that's escaping You know, we're running away from the problem when you do that. And I'm sure I'm not gonna spend any money either. So that's just my response. Thank you.
Vice President Kearney-Brown.
Just one last comment. Thank you, Dr. Ubaldi. I actually ran that by Leadership Associates, and they said that wouldn't be appropriate because of the Brown Act. That's why I said that to you. I didn't know you had a certificate in conflict resolution, but perhaps you could call point of order when board members are berating community members or other board members, because bullying can only happen when bystanders allow it to. So thank you.
I have 4 cards on this item. The first one will be Brenda Crawford, then Dr. Schussel, and Steve Soto?
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Crawford, and I'm a citizen of Vallejo and a supporter of the Vallejo Unified School District. One of the things that is quite disturbing to me is when you go on Facebook, the behavior of the board is the news that everyone's talking about. Instead of talking about the condition of our schools, instead of talking about supporting our teachers, instead of talking about putting a bond on the ballot to fix our dilapidated schools, they're talking about the dysfunction among this board, which to me is, you know, it's outrageous. I mean, I'm almost speechless after sitting through this last interaction. I would assume that everybody on this board is an adult. I would assume that everybody on this board serves because they are not serving because of their own self-interest, but they're serving because they have the interests of our kids at heart. I would assume that if you have that interest, then you have a higher calling. And that calling is to set aside your personal grievances with each other and act in the best interest of our kids. And if you can't do that, then I would suggest that you resign, because this is nonsense.
Thank you, Dr. Schussel, followed by Steve, and then Teresa Weston.
Good evening again, everyone. Let me just be blunt. The board's interactions, as well as its interactions with the administration, are highly dysfunctional, and it's hurting our entire community. And this dysfunctionality goes beyond the interactions between the board president and vice president. Board members are disrespectful to each other as well as to members of the community, and some of you need to really look at that. The board president has said he's willing to break the law and ignore citizens' rights. He is also making rules without prior board approval. Interactions between the board and the administration are strained. To put it bluntly, the board and the administration needs an intervention. And I say that almost with my professional background and training as a psychologist. To be most effective, mediation should be done in private. Unfortunately, the Brown Act prevents the types of group mediation that would be most effective. While not ideal, I have 5 things that I think this board needs to do, and some of you members need to take it to heart rather than dismissing it. One is you need an expert in conflict resolution to work with the president and vice president in private. This is not a public thing. Second, you need an expert in conflict resolution to work with the board and administration on more effective ways of dealing with each other. Third, the board needs to hire an outside neutral parliamentarian to run the board meetings instead of the current board president. The current board president has abused his authority on many occasions, and he's well aware of that. 4, the board adopt clearly written rules of governance regarding conduct. This would include areas such as bullying, insulting each other, and being respectful of others and their thoughts, which sometimes does not happen here. And fifth, as part of the contract, the superintendent was to have a mentor, which I understand has not occurred. Dr. Clark inherited a mess. He needs all of the help and insights that he can get. The board should insist that the superintendent get a mentor as soon as possible. And Dr. Clark should spend several hours a week on the phone or whatever with this person getting advice, because he's got a hornet's nest to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, Larissa, and then Hazel.
Good evening. Good evening. My name's Steve Sutter. I run a medium-sized business. I deal with 250 to 300 people every day in my business. I'm appalled by the actions of this board. I'm appalled by the eye-rolling and the taunting. There's just no place for it in terms of interaction if one wants to get something done. Any doubts I had, I suggest people look at the tape last week on item number 8 and the behavior of Mr. Worrell and Mr. Lawson. And once again, those behaviors are exhibited as Mr. Worrell just now laughs and plays for the camera. And Mr. Lawson, when Ms. Bradshaw was speaking earlier, when she said something he didn't agree with, rolled his eyes and went back, and it goes on. This is no place for it. You have a school district that is unsafe. A child was murdered 2 years ago here. There was an incident recently where a 22-year-old came on campus and started a fight with a 9th grader. There's real issues. The district's close to bankruptcy. There's real issues. And yet you have people taunting, bullying, rolling their eyes, and not dealing with the issues at hand. It's appalling. You guys need to grow up. You need to get your job done, or as Ms. Crawford said earlier, just resign and end it. Thank you.
Larissa and then Hazel. Larissa Weston.
I read her statement. Ms. Weston left, she gave me a statement
Hazel
today.
Wilson.
Good evening. Wednesdays are the days that I do childcare for my 5 grandchildren. On Wednesday evenings, I feel like I'm still with my 5 grandchildren. It's time that this board conducts the business of the district and put our children first. None of you are innocent. Social media posts, the CSBA training that you received where one member got nose to nose with the presenter. Very disrespectful. Hiring cameras for committee meetings, focusing on community members who are trying to serve. Threatening staff. All that is bullying. And you're all guilty. It's time that something is done. And I know when you want to point the finger at somebody else, remember 4 fingers are pointing back at you. And you are just as guilty. It's time to put our children first. It's time to put our programs first. It's time to focus on attendance, your budget. A mediator comes in here, you disagree with what they say? Are you going to get nose to nose with them? It happened. It's time to put our children first. It's time to put our teachers, our staff. They are the stars. They're the ones you should be supporting instead of acting like children. I'd like to come to a board meeting where there were 5 adults. And bullying really has gotten out of hand. It's at schools, yes, with the students. How can you advise what should be happening with the students? Your social media pages. Your social media pages. Put our children first. Thank you.
You have a motion, trustee Lawson?
We have a motion was to table this item indefinitely.
Second. Motion, seconded by trustee Ubaldi. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
No.
Okay, it's 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Now we'll move on to some business.
Wrong. 3 ayes, 1 nay.
3-1-1.
Well, I didn't hear you.
It's not a vote, Jim.
What was it? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kearney?
No.
Trustee Ubaldi?
Aye.
Trustee Lawson?
Aye.
Vice President Kearney-Brown?
Abstain, because I have no idea what's going on here. Thanks.
President Worrell?
Aye. Now can we move on to business? 7.2, resolution number 2809, ordering a school bond election for schools and establishing specifications of the election order and requesting consolidation of the election on November 6th, 2018. This is an action item. Dr. Clark.
Yes, when I first started my first day here in the Vallejo City Unified School District, it was October 19th, and my very first school board meeting had to do with, there had been a committee that had been organized before I was even thought of. There had been a committee organized to look at the conditions of our schools and to also see if there was interest in there about asking the school board to put a bond on the ballot for our voters. And this committee, they met, they talked about our different facility needs. They actually got in a bus and drove around and visited many of our schools. And when that committee came back and actually presented their recommendation to the school board, it was overwhelmingly in support of the school board taking action in investigating the possibilities of putting a bond on the agenda. Now, I want to be very clear. We have many challenges in this district, as many districts do in public education. But I'm just going to talk about Vallejo. We have many challenges. We have very dedicated staff. We have we have young people who are doing great things in our schools, and we have parents who want what's best for their students. The condition of our schools, when it rains, although I enjoy the rain, I get nervous because I think of leaky roofs. When it's cold, I worry about our students and them having to wear coats in class, or about them being cold. I want our students to have something that they can take pride in. And what we're talking about is just basic infrastructure. Many of our schools were built in the 40s and 50s, and they need help. So we are asking that the board consider and actually take action tonight about putting this item to the voters of Vallejo, to say either yes, we want to support this bond, and we're willing to pay the money that it takes to support our facilities, or know that they don't want to invest in that. But we need to invest in our children. And our children deserve it. This is not a bond that would have anything to do with the alleged top-heavy administration that we have. This is not a bond that would go to giving raises, although our teachers and members, our staff, they do. Teachers across the state and across the nation are underpaid. I'm not going to debate that, but that's not what this bond is. This is for our facilities. From what I understand, a bond was presented, a couple of years ago, and it didn't pass because people felt that maybe it was rushed, or maybe the district hadn't done their homework, or maybe things hadn't happened. We made every attempt to make sure that was not going to be the case in this situation. We started these conversations almost a year before it would go on the ballot. We did a polling where we contacted our polling company, contacted citizens of Vallejo, and they didn't just talk about the good things that are happening in our district. They brought up our data. They brought up our attendance data, and they brought up our academic data, and they brought up data that had to do with safety and things like that. And even with that, 61% of the community members polled agreed that they would support a facilities bond for our students. So we have, over the last several weeks, we have brought our financial team in to answer questions of the governing board, be here in public meetings for public to voice their concerns or their desires. And this is something that we are recommending that the board take action on. It is recommending that the governing board approve resolution 2809, ordering a school bond election in the principal amount of $194 million for elementary, middle, and high schools, establishing specifications for the election order and requesting consolidation with the election of November 6, 2018. Now, we have a great opportunity right now. You have a new superintendent who is committed to the young people of this district. And I fully understand the work that it's going to take to change a culture. We need to change a culture here in this district. And the way we are going to improve our educational standing of our students is through supporting our teachers and through supporting all of our classified workers and managers throughout the district, with the sole focus on that being of our students. But we have a hard time when our students walk into campuses that are literally falling apart. And so our team, we went around to over 40 organizations throughout this community and gave the presentation about why we are asking for this bond to be considered. Over 40 community groups. Me personally, as the superintendent, I've received I can count on one hand, that many people from the community who had reservations of going forward. So what we are asking the board to do tonight is to approve this resolution and to let the voters of Vallejo decide whether or not they want to invest in improving the education of our students. So with that said, I will turn it over to President Worrell, who I'm sure there's some people who want to speak about this issue.
I have 15 cards.
President Warren, may I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Well, I find it sort of silly what we usually have, everybody get up and speak, and then somebody makes a motion afterwards. I don't understand. I would think that if we had a motion on the floor, then people would understand I'm for this or I'm against this motion. Doesn't that make sense?
Make a
I
motion.
don't want to bully you or anything, but I just thought it'd be a good idea. Why, yeah, because that's my feeling, if people are gonna get up as a result of this.
Okay, go ahead and make
I
your motion.
move approval of resolution 2809, ordering a school bond election for schools and establishing specifications of the election order and requesting consolidation with the election to be held November 6, 2018.
Second. Okay. Before we move forward, I would like to take a 5-minute break. We have 15 cards to go through. So I would really like, unless I don't want to bully anybody, so if we can please take a 5-minute break.